All right, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas here around the Hyder household. And one thing I really recommend doing is burning in your lights before you put them on the house. And that's just running through a test. You can see I'm doing RGB and white, and there's a reason for doing that. To check the bulbs, make sure each one of them are working before I waste my time and put them up on the house. For example, I'm going to show you one down here that is having a problem. You could see it is yellow when it should be white. So it works as red, it works as green, but it's off when it's blue. Let me tell you why this happens and what I'm going to do to fix it.
Nothing lasts forever, and LEDs are no exception. When manufacturers give ridiculous lifespan numbers like 50,000 hours, and you do the math, it looks like your fancy LED strings will outlive you. But in reality, those are only average numbers, and there will always be exceptions, so you need to be prepared for failures and know how to fix them. These strings are called RGB lights because they have red, green, and blue LEDs in each pixel. These are called primary colors because each pixel can become any other color using just the primary colors. Here's a close-up of the 3 individual LEDs powered by tiny wires from a chip. The lights appear white when all 3 primary colors are on full brightness. The issue with my pixel is the blue LED isn't working, so when set to white, only the red and green LEDs light, and that's why it looks yellow. It's also possible for the chips to fail, in which case the pixel won't light at all, or worse, all downstream pixels will go dark as well. The good news is you can remove bad pixels pretty easily and just splice the wires to get the string working again. First, I marked the bad pixel with tape and disconnected the power. Then I cut the wires close to the bad pixel, leaving plenty of slack on both sides. I'll save the lens as a spare, but the pixel is garbage. My strings have 3 wires between each pixel: positive, data, and ground. The ground is clearly identified with a bold dash. I stripped the wires and carefully twisted them together to give them a test. You can see all colors are working on both sides of the splice now, so I need to make it permanent and waterproof. To do that, I used solder seal wire connectors and shrink wrap tubing. The 3/8" shrink wrap tubing was the smallest to fit over these wire connectors. I slid the tubing over one side of the splice and then installed connectors on each of the 3 wires. It helped to twist the wires to get them into the connectors. I overlapped the exposed wires inside the solder ring in the middle of the connector. Then I used a lighter to slowly heat the connectors until the solder melted. You could also use a heat gun if you have one. I slid the heat shrink tubing over the connectors and used the lighter to shrink that as well. The inside of the heat shrink tubing is lined with glue that melts and creates a really nice watertight seal. When I turned the power back on and the colors didn't match, I freaked out a bit. But when I told WLED to set them all to white, they all went back to normal.
All right, I put a different test pattern on here so that I could see each one of my segments. And over here is where I put the repaired string. Now remember, that only has 49 bulbs on it. And after that is going to be this wreath. And you can see I have spillover. That red one is because I took out a pixel from the roof line. And so I just have to shorten that segment by 1, and then I can fix it. So I'm just going to come in here on my roof, and I'm going to say instead of 150, I'm going to put in 149. And then my wreath, I have to start at 149 as well. And this is obviously going to end at 199 instead of 200. All right, now I made my adjustments, and you can see that everything is green on the wreath, so my segments are back to where they need to be. And once I get them on the house, I could tweak them again if necessary, but other than that, I am ready to go for installation. And that'll be the next step.